Welcome back to the channel. Today, I will bring you to a new chapter full of surprises and suspense in the journey of Tu Tien, a little girl who thought she had escaped the trap, but then got caught in another storm. This time it was not just a natural disaster, but also a secret that had been buried for decades. A strange woman appeared after the flood, claiming to be her biological mother. And from there, the door to the past was opened wide, bringing with it dangers that had never been revealed. Please follow my story today to find out what awaits Tu Tien ahead and whether she has the courage to face the truth. After the devastating flood, the hillside village looked as though it had just survived and nightmare trees had fallen. Roads eroded and fragile wooden houses were either swept away or buried in thick mud in a small makeshift cabin. Nestled on the slope, Tu Tien still hadn't recovered from the trauma she had barely escaped the dangerous trap orchestrated by Ms. Holda, secretary to someone who once appeared sweet and attentive, but it coldly lured her into a cruel, calculated scheme. Though she had survived the wounds in her heart were still raw, but just as she was beginning to regain her balance, another shock came, one even more unsettling, more personal, and far more difficult to comprehend. That afternoon, the rain had just stopped. 210 was clearing splintered wood from the porch when a strange car pulled up at the gate. There were no visible license plates, and the windows were heavily tinted. She instinctively felt uneasy, her hands tightening around the cloth she was holding when the car door opened. A woman stepped out, elegant, poised, with eyes that were both sharp and sorrowful, as if she carried a burden too heavy to name. The woman slowly approached the gate, not hurried, not hesitant, only her eyes remained locked onto Tu Tien's, unwavering and intense. "You are Tu Tien, right?" the woman asked. Her voice was soft, almost like a whisper, but it sent a chill through Tu Tien's spine. She didn't respond. There was a strange familiarity about the woman, like she had seen her before somewhere in a forgotten memory, but she couldn't quite place it. "Who are you?" she asked carefully. The woman reached in her coat pocket and pulled out a small silver necklace. It looked old, with a tear-shaped pendant. "This was yours," the woman said. "You wore it when you were 3. I put it on you myself." Tu Tien froze. She had forgotten all about that necklace, a childhood relic buried deep in the past. How could this woman possibly know about it? "I am your mother," the woman continued, her voice trembling slightly. "You were taken away. Everything you've known about your past isn't the whole truth." Tu Tien felt her world shift. She couldn't speak. Part of her wanted to believe, to fall into this woman's arms and accept the comfort she never had, but another part screamed at her to run. What if this was another trap? At that moment, a gust of wind slammed the gate open and shut. The air turned colder despite the sun still shining. The unease within her grew stronger. "Why now?" she asked. "Why are you only coming for me now?" The woman was quiet for a moment, then she said, "Because someone doesn't want you to know who you are. Every time I got close, something stopped me. Tell me why you think so many awful things keep happening to you." The words cut deep. 210 had wondered about that herself, why her life seemed constantly thrown into chaos. Could it really be someone orchestrating it? The woman handed her an old photo, faded and yellowed, of a little girl standing next to a young woman. The hair, the eyes, even the smile looked uncannily like Tu Tien. Her hands trembled, but she still couldn't bring herself to believe. "I want proof," she said. "I can't trust you based on a few trinkets." The woman nodded. "I don't blame you for doubting, but don't let anyone else decide the truth for you. You have to seek it yourself before it's too late." Then she turned, leaving a small envelope on the wooden table. Without another word, she got back into the car and disappeared as quickly as she had arrived. Tu Tien's stood frozen. The wind still howled outside, but inside her a storm was rising. She picked up the envelope. Inside were a few old photos and a piece of paper with a single sentence: "They never wanted you to know who you really are. No name, no date, just. Those words like a blade slicing into her mind that night. Tu Tien didn't sleep. She sat at the table staring at the photos. Some of the places in them looked oddly familiar. A hillside village. She might have lived in a wooden house. By a stream, a field of daisies she often saw in dreams. Her thoughts spiral between belief and suspicion. She told no one, not even Jack, not yet. This was something she had to face on her own. If that woman truly was her mother, why now? Why after the flood, after the trap, after everything she just begun to recover from? Could it really be fate or just another dangerous game? Tu Tien knew one thing from the moment that woman appeared. There was no going back. A door had opened. A door she had no choice but to walk through, whether it led to truth or deeper shadows. And deep down she failed it. If someone truly didn't want to find out the truth, then at this very moment she had already become a target. That night when Tu finally shared the entire story about the mysterious woman who appeared after the flood, Jack didn't respond immediately. He sat silently in the chair, eyes fixed on the empty space in front of him, as if trying to piece everything together. In his mind, his heart ached, seeing the fear and turmoil in the eyes of the woman he loved. He knew that this time they were facing a truth that could change everything. Jack didn't believe in coincidences. He was a man of logic, having weathered countless schemes within the company. His first instinct was suspicion. A woman appearing precisely when 210 was most vulnerable, right after flood, bringing with her story with no legal or verifiable proof, and unraveling along buried secret. Everything felt like a carefully orchestrated plan. Still, Jack didn't argue or try to stop Tu Tien. He knew she needed time and space to seek her own answers, but that didn't mean he would stand idly by. That very night, Jack secretly began investigating the unfamiliar car that brought the woman. He tapped into his security connections, searching for traffic footage from cameras near T's cabin. He also reached out to an old friend who used to work in counterintelligence to analyze some of the blurry images captured on remote hill cameras. What he found made his concern deep. In that car had once been seen near location where they were previously trapped by Home, the former assistant of the corporation. Although Home had vanished after her scheme failed, Jack sensed that a more powerful force was pulling the strings. Without saying anything to T, Jack installed a discreet monitoring device around the wooden cabin. He didn't want to worry her, but protecting her was more important than anything else. The next day, when Tu Tien expressed a desire to visit the mountainous region shown in a photograph, mysterious woman had left. Jack simply smiled. I'll go with you. They departed at dawn, speaking little on the winding mountain roads. Jack stayed a step behind, eyes never leaving Tu Tien. He sensed her hope, but also her deep fear each time a strange vehicle passed by. Jack mentally noted its license plate. Eventually, they reached a remote village where an elderly man recounted that a woman had visited several times in past, searching for a child she had lost years ago. The information was vague, but not implausible. Tu Tien began to believe the woman might truly be her mother. Jack, on the other hand, remained cautious. He carefully watched how the villagers reacted when the woman was mentioned. Some averted their eyes, others hesitated, as if there was something they couldn't or wouldn't say. That night, while Tu Tien rested in a small lodge, Jack stepped out to speak with a middle-aged man who had been observing them from afar. After a quiet conversation, the man whispered, "She shouldn't have come back. This isn't over, and you better be ready." Jack shivered, not from the cold, but from the unmistakable sincerity in the man's eyes. Something dangerous was approaching, and 210 was a final piece of a puzzle someone was desperate to keep hidden from. That night on, Jack never left T's side. He remained gentle, loving her, steady protector, but beneath that tenderness was heightened vigilance. He sharpened his old skills: observation, behavioral analysis, intuition. He knew that danger didn't always come with loud noises it often. Crept in silently, Jack also quietly dug into the mysterious woman's background. He checked travel records, traced phone calls, and examined small clues she had left behind. He had no intention of confronting Tu Tien with any of this, unless absolutely necessary. Trust was fragile, and he would never risk hers. Deep inside, Jack's love for 210 remained unshaken, whatever the truth was, whether the woman was her mother or a pawn in a larger game. Jack knew he had only one mission: to protect Tu Tien at all costs. He understood now they weren't just dealing with a family secret. There was a shadowy force orchestrating something bigger. Those who had once tried to eliminate Jack from the corporation might now be targeting Tu Tien, striking where Jack was most vulnerable. But Jack wasn't someone who gave in easily. He had survived traps, outwitted manipulators, and reclaimed his place in the face of injustice. This time would be no different. He would not allow anyone to destroy the peace he and T had fought so hard to build. And if stepping into the shadows was what it took, Jack would do it, so long as the woman he loved stayed safe under the pale moonlight. That night, Jack stood silently outside the room where Tu Tien was sleeping. His hand rested gently on the concealed item in his coat pocket, not for offense, but for defense, because he knew the real storm hadn't even